All right, Shalom Yasha, back with another GMS on the go. This is the North Carolina camp. Collaboration, GMS Stay Woke, serving in the Most High. Before we go any further, we like to give all honor, all glory, all praises to the Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son,
Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Rakakwadash.
Next up, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone, for teaching us this truth according to the Bible and rule well. And a double shalom to all the sincere Akim throughout the four corners of the earth, pushing this truth and righteousness and sincerity to the best of your ability. And me and the brother Isaiah was able to get up, through the spirit and power of Yahweh by Hashem Yahweh Shai. Yahweh being the Heavenly Father, which His name means He is or He exists. And Yahweh Shai being the only begotten Son, which His name means He saves, He delivers. And me and the brothers are going to go into a lesson on it's time for you so-called Negroes, Latino Americans, who are the real biblical Hebrew Israelites, to wake up out of that sleep that you're in, from falling away to this place called America. You see, because all hell's about to break loose. Prophecies, are fastly coming to pass. So you so-called Negroes, Latin Americans, wake up before you get caught up in the judgment that Yahweh Shai is bringing into this place called America.
This is the book of Romans chapter 13, verse 11, and it reads, "In that, knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep."
That's right. You see, so it's high time for you so-called Negroes, Latino Americans to wake up out of that sleep that you're in. You see, that spiritual sleep that you're in, from falling away to this place called America. Everything that Esau, the so-called white man, is promoting in this place. You see, you so-called Negroes, Latin Americans, you need to come back to your nationality, your heritage of being the Hebrew Israelites. You see, stop falling away to this place called America. Stop gangbanging, selling drugs, committing adultery, sleep with the next man's wife, vice versa. You see, stop marring your beard, making baldness upon your head. Stop doing anything that's going contrary to the laws, statutes, commandments of the Bible. You see, it's high time for you so-called Negroes, Latino Americans to wake up out of that sleep that you're in. You see, because if you know the times that you're living in, you would know that the times are evil. You would know that Esau, the so-called white man, is about to come down upon you so-called Negroes, Latino Americans, having great wrath, because he know that his time is short. If you know the times that you're living in, you would know that prophecies are speaking. You would know that the RFID chip, which is the mark of the beast, is coming to pass. You would know that race riots are coming to pass. You would know that a famine of food and thirst is coming to pass. You see, the list goes on and on. So the times that you so-called Negroes, Latino Americans are living in are evil. So it's high time for you to wake up out of that sleep that you're in. And again, that spiritual sleep.
This book of Romans chapter 13, verse 11, "And that knowing the time, that now it is high time to awake out of sleep, for now is our salvation nearer than when we believe."
That's right. You so-called Negroes, Latin Americans, your salvation, which is Yahweh Shai, getting beaten up into those chariots, which the word calls UFOs, is nearer than when we believe. And the only ones that's going to get beaten up into those chariots is the elect. Lord willing, me and his brother, and all the sincere Akim, throughout the four corners of the earth, pushing his truth and righteousness and sincerity, will be getting beaten up in those chariots. You see, but you so-called Negroes, Latin Americans, start with the elect, our salvation is nearer than when we believe. You see? So it's time for us to wake up out of that sleep, that spiritual sleep of falling away to this place called America. Because if you remain, spiritually sleep in this place, you're going to get caught up in that judgment that Yahweh Shai is going to bring to this place called America. So wake up. Come back to the law, statutes, commandments of the Bible.
This is Ephesians chapter 5, verse 14, and it reads, "Wherefore he saith, Awake thou that sleepest, and arise from the dead, and the Mashiach shall give thee light."
That's right. You so-called Negroes, Latin Americans, again, awake from that sleep that you're in. Not a physical sleep, a spiritual sleep, from the ways of this place called America. You see, come back to your nationality, your heritage, or who you were created to be, the Hebrew Israelites. You see, from the tribe of Judah, or from the tribe of Benjamin, or from the tribe of Levi, or from the tribe of Issachar, or whatever the case may be. You see, you so-called Negroes, Latin Americans, you need to awake out of that sleep that you're in and arise from the dead. And what's the dead that you so-called Negroes, Latin Americans need to arise from? Can you get me Proverbs 21:16?
This book of Proverbs, chapter 21, verse 16, and it reads, the man that wandereth out of the way of understanding.
And that's talking about the Israelite man, so-called Negroes, Latino Americans. So if you so-called Negroes, Latino Americans wander out of the way of understanding, which is this truth of following the own laws, statutes, commandments of the Bible, the right way, read on.
And it reads, Proverbs 21:16, the man that wandereth out of the way of understanding shall remain in the congregation of the dead.
That's right. Then guess what? You so-called Negroes, Latin Americans, because you went out of the way of understanding, you're going to remain in the congregation of the dead. And what's the congregation of the dead? These heathen nations. Starting with Esau, the so-called white man, on down to Moab and Ammon, the so-called Chinese and Japanese, Ham, the so-called Duty Africans, Elam, the so-called Dias Indians, Ishmael, the so-called Musty Arabs, and anybody else I left out that's not part of the 12 tribes of Israel. You see, that's the congregation of the dead that you so-called Negroes, Latin Americans need to wake from. You see, because if you so-called Negroes, Latin Americans keep following the ways of the congregation of the dead, these heathen nations and their ways, that's what's going to lead. That's what's going to lead you to get put to death. So that's why you need to come back to your ways, which the law, statutes, commandments of the Bible, and keep them to the best of your ability, because that's what's going to lead to life.
I appreciate
Time.
This is Jeremiah 10:1. Hear ye the word which the Lord speaketh unto you, O house of Israel.
That's right. You see, this word is for you so-called Negroes, Latino Americans, who are the real biblical Hebrew Israelites.
Verse 2, thus saith the Lord Yahweh Shema Shai, learn not the way of the heathen.
That's right. So you so-called Negroes, Latin Americans, you're not supposed to be learning the ways of the heathen nations. And I already named these heathen nations earlier. Esau, the so-called white man, Ham, the so-called Dude Africans, Moab and Ammon, the so-called Chinese and Japanese, Ishmael, the so-called Musty Arabs, Elam, the so-called Dias Indians, and so forth on. You see? And when you look into that word learn, it means to like practice, to follow after. So you so-called Negroes, Latin Americans, you don't need to be practicing. You don't need to be following after the ways of heathen nations. You see, because again, learning the ways of heathen nations, their ways is going to lead you to get put to death. You know, if eating shrimp, pork, crab, lobster, you get high blood pressure, diabetes, and gout from all of that. Smoking weed, cigarettes, black and miles, defiling your temple, you get cancer, and you know, and so forth on when you do those things. When you indulge in sodomy, man with man, woman with woman, you know, you get diseases and so forth on. You see, the list goes on and on. So you so-called Negroes, Latin Americans, you don't need to be learning the ways of these heathen nations and what they're into.
That's pretty much the point. This is Romans. This is back in Romans. I'm sorry. This is back in the book of Ephesians, chapter 5. I'm reading 14 again. Verse 14. Wherefore he saith, awake thou that sleepest, and arise from the dead, and the Mashiach shall give thee light.
And that's right. And once you so-called Negroes, Latin Americans arise from the dead, you know, these heathen nations for falling their ways,
you repent.
That's right. You repent. You turn back sorrowfully. You know, you convert. You change your ways. And guess what? Yahweh Shema Shai is going to give you light, which is the wisdom, knowledge, and understanding the scriptures. They're going to give you the truth.
Verse 15. See then that you walk circumspectly. You know, and that's a compound word. You know, circum, inspect. You know, spec means to look, and circum means around. So you're supposed to be looking around. You're supposed to be looking around. You know, keeping your eyes on the prophecy. If you're sleeping, you can't. You're not looking around. You're not aware. You know, this is why you gotta wake up. See then that you walk circumspectly. You're supposed to be watching for the prophecies that are fastly coming to pass. You know, the RFID chip being the mark of the beast. You're supposed to be watching for when that's gonna be made fully implemented. You know, be made mandatory. You know, World War III. You know, all these other nations come up against Babylon the Great. The dollar crashing. You know, race riots, famines,
diseases,
different diseases. Yep, these things are coming to America, and you gotta be watching for them. Right, and it reads Ephesians 5:15. See then that you walk circumspectly, not as fools, but as wise. You know, the fools of our people. You know, they're not fearing Yahweh by Shema Shai. They don't think that what's prophesied in the Bible is even going to come to pass. So what? They're living. You know, they're living their best life, their so-called best life here in America, partying, living it up with these other nations. Verse 16, redeeming the time because the days are evil. Yeah, we're living in dangerous times. You know, we're living in evil times, bad times. You know, our fashion are here now, and what is going to be even more when all hell is breaking loose in the time of Jacob's trouble. You know, when you don't have any food in your cubbies to feed your families. You know, when you go to the nearest local mom and pop store and it's all been broken down and ran through because of the lack of bread. You know, this is what's coming to America. But that was it on that. I'm gonna get Micah 2 and 10.
Yep.
This is the book of Micah, chapter 2, verse 10. Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest.
That's right. This place, America, is not you so-called Negroes, Latin Americans' rest. You see, you're not supposed to be, on ease mode. You're not supposed to be comfortable, trying to live your best life right now. This place, it was not designed for you so-called Negroes, Latin Americans, to prosper here, to make it.
You're supposed to be working right now, especially if you're a man, and you receive this truth, but you're supposed to be working for your salvation. The scripture say, work out your own salvation with fear and trembling. You got somebody resting on the job, sitting back with his legs up. Get up, and come follow the ways of Yahweh Shema Shah before the Lord comes back and destroys this place.
That's right. So like the brother was saying, this place is not our rest. So you so-called Negro Latin Americans, you need to wake up and depart from this wicked place. All the abomination, wicked 50 acts that Esau, the so-called white man, promotes in this place. Because if you remain asleep, talking to you so-called Negro Latin Americans, you keep on following the ways of Esau, the so-called white man, when he's promoting this place called America, you're going to be destroyed from the plagues and calamities that Yahweh Shema Shah is going to bring to this place called America.
This is Micah 2 and 10. Arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is polluted.
That's right. This place, America, is polluted. From the chemtrails being sprayed in the air out of these planes, the fluoride water that we drink, the GMO foods that we eat, to the bloodshed of the so-called Negroes, Latin Americans in this land. You see, the trash all in the ocean. This place, America, is polluted all around. It's defiled.
Down the philosophies.
Bro, the water down to the philosophies, the ideologies, the traditions. This place called America is polluted, and that's why you so-called Negroes, Latin Americans need to arise and depart from this place.
And it reads, Micah 2 and 10, arise ye and depart, for this is not your rest, because it is polluted. It shall destroy you, even with a sore destruction.
And this place, America, has destroyed 2/3 of our people. That's why our people are out here, committing a whole bunch of abomination, wicked, filthy acts, doing things they have by Shema Shah does not take pleasure in. So because this place has destroyed 2/3 of our people, now they're going to be destroyed with a sword of destruction. Meaning what? When America goes down by those 200 million ICBM missiles that these other nations are going to send to destroy this place called America, 2/3 of our people are going to go down with this place. So, that's our lesson. We just want to get into a lesson on telling you so-called Negroes, Latin Americans to wake up out of that sleep that you're in from falling away to this place called America before it's too late. So with that, I hope you so-called Negroes, Latin Americans have been edified. Before we go any further, we like to give all honor, all glory, all praises to the Heavenly Father and His only begotten Son, Yahweh, by Hashem, Yahweh Shai, by Hashem, Rakakwadash. Next up, double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone from teaching us this truth according to the Bible and Ruel, and a double shalom to all the sister Akim throughout the four corners of the earth, pushing the truth and righteousness and sincerity to the best ability. Till next time, shalom.
Shalom.